Helen Fitt. Sleepless in Snowdon. Sleepless in Snowdon. Helen Fitt.
It was 4:30 on a chilly September morning back in 2010 when I was rudely jolted from my slumber by a noise faintly resembling an approaching freight train. Mr. Contest Chair, fellow Toastmasters, and very welcome guests. It was a highly disconcerting experience. But you don't have to take my word for it. Many of my fellow Cantabrians who have been jolted awake on numerous occasions in recent years will be able to tell you exactly what I'm talking about. Hedgehog sex. For the uninitiated, I should probably explain. In Canterbury, September marks the start of the breeding season of one of the world's noisiest copulators, Erinaceus europaeus, otherwise known as the common, but uncommonly horny, European hedgehog. Now, back on that spring morning in Spreydon, neither my partner James nor I had any inkling of the origin of the infernal clamour that had roused us. But the assorted and extremely loud gruntings, groanings and snortings did seem to be coming from outside the open window. So I got up, I padded quietly across the bedroom, and I peered out into the gloom. Outside, I honestly expected to see some large and wounded beast, perhaps an escaped bear or lion. I looked right, I looked left, I looked up, and eventually I looked down. Now, you've probably worked out where this is going, and you might be struggling to believe that something as small as a hedgehog could wake up somebody with a well-developed talent for sleeping. Indeed, you would be forgiven for thinking that I'm exaggerating to embellish my tale. I'm not. But you don't, again, have to take my word for it, because popular European newspaper The Metro last year reported that a man living near Nuremberg in Germany had called the police in the middle of the night to report a heavily panting intruder inside his home. The man was terrified. The police duly arrived and conducted a search of the premises and were dumbfounded to find absolutely no evidence of any intruder. Until, that is, the noise started up again. And a second search of the premises revealed two hedgehogs, deeply ensconced in what naturalist David Attenborough delicately describes as an amorous liaison. You may therefore find it a little easier to believe that when I looked down from my window, what I saw was one small hedgehog, an intent look in his eyes as he avidly and gruntingly circled his desired mate. I have since discovered that male hedgehogs are well known for their concupiscence, or strong sexual ardour. A male hedgehog will happily harangue a hapless female for, well, as long as it takes. And if you were, like me, to Google hedgehog sex, you would almost certainly discover a video documentary cataloguing the plight of a poor, hungry female hedge pig in a desperate search for food, while her overzealous male suitor did absolutely everything in his power to immobilise her. For 8 hours. One word of caution, though. Before Googling hedgehog sex at work, be aware of where such a search may lead. This speech is rated PG, so I'm not going to dwell on the topic of the male porn star who has been dubbed the hedgehog. I'm going to leave that one entirely to your own imaginations, but I do want to share with you one thing I discovered while researching this speech. I found that turkeys share some of the male hedgehog's concupiscence. In fact, scientists have discovered that they can arouse a male turkey. Now, don't ask me why they were trying to. But they've discovered that they can arouse a male turkey by using not a female turkey, but by allowing a male turkey to interact with a model of a female turkey. It's kind of the turkey world's equivalent of the blow-up doll. The logical next step for this research team was, obviously, to discover the minimum stimulus required to arouse a male turkey. Clearly the blow-up doll method works, but what they actually discovered is that you don't need an elaborate blow-up doll to arouse a turkey. All you need is a severed, withered, 2-year dead female turkey head on a stick. But I digress. I was looking down from the window at our two pointy protagonists. But as my eyes became increasingly accustomed to the gloom, I noticed that there was a third hedgehog standing nearby watching. Apparently, audiences and audience participation are actually quite common in the hedgehog kingdom. Hedgehogs are so keen to get a piece of the action that they are actually attracted by the sound of other hedgehogs liaising. It is, therefore, quite possible to behold a hearty horde of hogs in your hedge, amorously, sonorously and clamorously begetting the beast with two barbarically barbed backs, in a practice polite society predominantly prefers to presume private. Presently, I looked a little further to my left, and I saw that my cat was also sitting watching. She had her head tilted to one side and an intrigued look on her face. It is difficult to establish whether she was simply as perplexed as we were, or whether she was trying to work out how to get past those spines for a delicious pre-breakfast snack. Either way, the scene now encompassed me, James, the cat, one Irenaceous observer, our amorously snorting Romeo, and the slightly bemused-looking target of his affections. If two's company, 6 is definitely a crowd. And I was starting to feel just a little voyeuristic. So James and I headed back to bed. Just moments later, I turned to him to see if we couldn't devise our own cunning plan to drown out the still infernal clamouring going on outside. But James was already fast asleep. While I was destined to be sleepless in Spreydon, it seems that not all males have the stamina of hedgehogs.